Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. We are so fortunate to have Tom Renz and Dr. Sherri Tenpenny both joining us today. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Thrilled to be here.
Thanks for having us.
This is exciting. Dr. Tenpenny, I was looking at some of your content, and you have a Tenpenny Prime membership for your members that I think that's amazing. So you were talking about thyroid issues, and I think my listeners know that I don't have a thyroid. So I'm going to go back and read like everything you wrote about that because you're amazing. You are a researcher, but you're a truth teller. You don't follow the narrative. You actually talk about science, which is not, Tom, we were talking about this on your show I don't know, is it like a month ago, that science is not following the narrative. It is actually testing every theory, and anything is possible. Everything is questionable. And they try to say that that's not science, that's conspiracy. And heroes like Dr. Sherri Tenpenny stand up and say, no, science can always be tested, always be proven, and here's truth.
And they censor Dr. Tenpenny more than almost anyone. We talk about Tom Renz being the most censored man on the planet, but Dr. Tenpenny has been attacked and censored. I mean, for how many years now, Dr. Tenpenny, you've been in this game, and they just come at you so hard.
Well, I've been in this game. It'll be 25 years in September. So a quarter of a century. Hard to believe.
God bless you.
I would say the heavy censorship has been in the last 5 years, but it's been probably 5 years before that. And we know before I was named one of the disinformation dozen where it got really heavily censored. And I got shut down off. I'm still permanently banned from Instagram and Facebook and PayPal and Podbean. And so I'm still permanently banned from them. But, even before that, you know how heavily censored you are when a 4-year period of time, and as big as we are on social media, we do podcasts every day. We do a lot of stuff on Substack. We post every day with all the things that we do, that in 3.5 years, our email list has gained 0 new people. So you know that's all censorship, right?
Yeah. We talk about it with Tom. You can't Google search Tom Renz and find his website. You actually have to type in the website because he's so censored. If you look up Tom Renz, all you're going to find is his hit pieces. But we have TomRenz.com, and no one can find it. It's real fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've watched Sherri get hit, get attacked, get set up. I've seen her, in testimony, I've seen them try and set her up and then coordinate with the media to attack her. But the reality is that Sherri was the godmother of the health freedom movement. Before Bobby even came on the scene, she was out fighting for this stuff. And all due respect to Bobby, because he was there way before me. I'm a latecomer to this. Yeah, I still thought vaccines were great in the late 2010s. But Bobby came along and he did a great job, but he stood on Sherri's shoulders just like I did. But Sherri's the OG on this stuff. She's been there forever. And it's a shame. I don't see her getting the respect that she deserves. She stood on principle when everybody else was too afraid to do it. And she not only stood on principle, but I'm going to tell you guys, I've watched, the thing about Sherri is she's actually worked to elevate others. It hasn't always been about her. Sherri was one of the original people to back me. The very first COVID case I filed, she was an expert for me. She put, I don't even know how many hours for free into doing research and to give me just the extensive documentation on different things. I was nothing. I was nobody. I was some random nobody lawyer, trying to put together a case. And you got the great Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, known all over the universe, putting together documents for me for free so that I could do this, and then I get all these high fives. Everyone's telling me, oh, great job, great job. But, I couldn't have did it without people like Sherri. I couldn't have did it without the work that the giants in health freedom did before me. And so, I just want to make sure, and every time I get the opportunity, I try to make sure that people remember that, we've done great work in the last 5 years, and we've come together, and health freedom has grown. And now we all hear MAHA, we all hear this, we all hear that. But we're here today. And, some of us were latecomers that did great work. I'm proud of the work I did. We did a lot. But I couldn't have did it without the work of the people who came before me. And the original is sitting there right in the middle of the screen. You know, Sherri's been here forever, and I couldn't be more honored to call her a friend.
Well, and when,
it's a good thing that you can't see the color real well. You'd see me blushing. You know, it's so
we
funny
love you, Sherri.
when everybody was as this whole thing about calling people the OG. I didn't really know what that stood for, and so
Me neither.
somebody,
Original.
does that mean old goat?
No, original gangster.
You
You're
know?
the original gangster.
Greatest of all time.
Oh, geez.
So going back to that filing, Tom, what was the date on that? So you and Sherri worked on exposing the truth behind the ludicrous reality of the masking.
Yeah.
What was the date that you guys put that out
So
there?
September 1st, 2020, we filed the very first case that I filed, and it was the case that led to the end of the lockdowns nationally. I mean, we trained a bunch of other attorneys, and these cases were filed all over the country. And what happened is at that point, no one was questioning the narrative. And we put in court, and we put it in court in a way where if anybody wanted to call us a liar, I was going to sue their ass for defamation, and I had the right to do it. And that was part of the strategy. That was part of the strategy because, you know, we put truth in the courtroom. We put it in there. And the media was owned by Big Pharma. The media was owned, you know, and what I did was we worked with people, and I had these people who were brilliant. You know, Sherri and Pam Popper did more on those original cases for me than any two people on the planet. And their research, their work was incredible. And Sherri was literally the first of the experts that I met, period. I mean, she was the first, and I had no idea who I was talking to. I didn't know anything about health freedom at the time. I had no idea that there was this whole huge movement and that all this stuff was going on. All I knew is that some jerks were locking us down, and this lady who everybody seems to love is helping me put together this stuff, and man, she knows her stuff.
Oh, the research on that file, that case, I love reading through that because the research, the citations that you guys put in there, I mean, the moment I put a mask on, I knew how ludicrous it was, but that filing was just brilliant. I mean, the research that was put into it was great. Yeah.
Well, it was an incredibly powerful thing, and it was the basis for people to start saying, wait a second, maybe it's not a conspiracy theory, maybe it's just a conspiracy. Exactly. And it couldn't have been done without Sherri's work, without, you know, and I mean, in that case, you got to figure this is going back to September of 2020 when everybody was still terrified.
Yeah.
Not Sherri. Sherri had all the info, and we had, you know, Dr. Peter Bregan. We had Scott Jennings up in Minnesota. We had all sorts of brilliant people coming together. I didn't have any idea who I was pulling in. I like, okay, I got an expert, MD, they meet the qualifications, good. And then I find out, you know, as I'm going through, and I find out, you know, that people are you know, when you talk about Dr. Sherri Tenpenny, you know, and all I knew was a super sweet lady who was super kind and just a very good friend to me and became a wonderful, I had no idea. And then over time, I'm like, oh, I got a real big shot here as a friend. You know,
you
but,
didn't know that you had an old goat as a friend, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. No idea.
And she's in Ohio, and now you guys are
speaking about masks, I saw a meme today. I thought I've never seen this one before. It was really good. It was somebody that had on a mask, and this person they were walking, and this person walking next to him said, "Why do you have on a mask?" And the answer was, "Because I'm afraid of catching the truth." And I thought that was very good. I thought it was really good.
Especially at this point.
For real.
Sure. I mean, that's the truth. Well, I'm just so honored that you're on the show. You know, I want everyone to know that anytime I have ever met her, and I don't think I was on her radar till recently, and she has never treated me any differently than she treated people she knew forever or people that are supposed to be important. She's very humble and kind and really just is trying to help the human race. And we thank God for Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. You've been on this show before. You didn't know it because we use your videos and the information you put out. And I'm like, look what Dr. Sherri Tenpenny said. And this is truth because she stuck it out there. You know, your membership information this month, you're talking about GI issues. And
next month. Well, it's this month. Well, no, March. So
it's March.
I'm trying, you know, you lose track of time, you know, where you are. And so February is cardiovascular. And in fact, we have an event coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact, with Dr. Asim Malhotra. from the UK. You know, Asim Malhotra is a massive, important cardiologist who's done all sorts of things with preventive cardiology. He's sort of like the Peter McCullough equivalent in the UK. And he speaks all over the world, and he's been named in Bobby Kennedy's panel of experts, of people that he wants to talk to about, you know, cardiovascular health. And I met him at a meeting right before the inauguration. I was invited to a luncheon at the Heritage House, and he was there talking to Mehmet Oz, and so I went up and I talked to Mehmet, and I talked to Asim, and I said, would you be, because on our new membership we started the first of the year, it's called Tenpenny Prime, that we do a theme for a month. And you mentioned in January we did thyroid, and this month we've done cardiovascular. In March, next month, it'll be GI health. And as a member, you get a white paper from me about procedures that they do to diagnose and treat, and the pros and cons and kind of the costs of that. So you get a white paper on a topic, and then you get a recorded presentation. So this month I did a recorded presentation on cholesterol, the good guy, and why cholesterol is not a bad thing, and you should stop taking statins because it's ruining your brain. And then, which people don't know that. I mean, we know that. Everybody here is nodding like, yeah, that's old news amongst the group of people here. But as a general rule, people don't know that.
And they give out statins like Tic Tacs. It's here's a statin.
When you try to suggest to people that you shouldn't take it, they act like you just killed their mother or something, you know. And then next month is going to be on GI health, and and then after that in April we've already got it planned to be reproductive health. And so we're kind of laying things out for the year.
So I have a question for you. There is this article that came up. Let me just, because you were talking about the heart health, and I was going to ask you about the cholesterol. So I'm glad you brought that up, because most people think that cholesterol is bad, and it is very good and much needed. You need it for your body to function. But the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, up where you guys are in Ohio, denied a heart transplant to a 12-year-old girl because she hasn't taken a poisonous jab that doesn't even meet the qualifications as a vaccine. What is your take on that?
Well, you know, first of all, I'm glad that it made mainstream, that people are finally talking about it. But this isn't anything new. This isn't a one-off. This has been, there was a little baby who's probably, well, I don't know, she's probably a young adult now, but a long time ago, she was born with a congenital heart problem. This was, I don't know, maybe 2005. And we did all these nutritional things and did all kinds of things, because she had been on, from the time she was born until she was 40 days old, she'd been on a heart transplant list. And then she started to get better, and then we decided to do things with nutrition and all this other stuff, and she was just fine. But the cardiologist told her that because of the type of heart defect she had, at some point in time as she got older, she would need to be put back on the cardiac transplant list, because her heart would not be strong enough to keep up with her as her body got older and as she aged. When she got to be about 12, she was back on that list, and grew up in a chiropractic family, and had never been vaccinated at all. And the transplant team said, you have to be fully vaccinated or you will not get a heart. And these parents, really smart parents, went to every transplant team around here. They went to Pennsylvania, they went to, University of Pittsburgh, they went to Philadelphia, they went to New York, they went to Chicago, went to Indianapolis, went to Columbus, went to Cincinnati, went to Cleveland, and all of them then formed a consortium so that all of them would agree and be on the same page that if there's two children side by side, both equally qualified in terms of disease state, age, general health, and all that stuff, the one that was fully vaccinated would get the organ transplant. Not just the heart, whether it's a liver, a kidney, anything, the lung, the one who's fully vaccinated. And and so this is nothing new. And this has been—
They're more likely to have a heart attack if they've had that poisonous jab. That's
crazy. Let me finish what I was saying.
Sorry.
And so, I mean, that has been true of the entire vaccination schedule for all 20 years. This new thing of insisting on the COVID jab is even worse. It's an element above, because that because we know the damage that these COVID jabs can do to all of the organs. And, people who had fought for really hard to not get a COVID jab, now they needed an organ transplant. They were going to force to get one. So they're going to die from the COVID jab, or they're going to die from not getting their organ transplant. It's like assisted suicide, kind of.
Well, here's the thing. Let me jump in here and be the lawyer on this. So what they're doing is they're relying on the federal government and the federal government's proposition that these vaccines somehow improve your health, that they're overall beneficial. Now, here's the interesting thing. Up until COVID, when you had the traditional vaccines, there was a very large and tremendous consensus on their safety efficacy. Then COVID comes in and a couple things happen. So first of all, you've got the mRNA COVID jabs, which now carry a black box label warning over the impacts on your heart. I mean, it is well established. So the idea that this girl is going to have a COVID jab when she's got heart issues is absolutely obscene. It's insane. And I mean, legally, there's a bit of an issue here, right? Because you're going to say that we're relying on the government's position that you need these jabs, but we're not going to rely on the black box warning that maybe you shouldn't, that related to heart health, right? And so you can't have it both ways. And so there's a question there under the law, particularly related to the COVID jabs. Now, as far as the rest of the vaccines, there's another issue. And that's that when they overplayed their hand by pushing the COVID jabs the way that they did, and all the lies that they did in everything related to COVID, what they did is they woke up a whole bunch of jackasses like me, right? So now there's people out there like me that don't care. And we woke up and we recognized, wait a second, everything they said to us was a lie. So then we start looking. And it turns out that Sherri was right for years. Back 20 years ago, when you asked me about vaccines, and I said, well, of course they're safe and effective. And Sherri was out there saying otherwise. Well, guess who was wrong? I'm a guy, so I'm used to being wrong. I can admit it, right? But here's the deal. That woke us up. So not only is there the legal issue that we have with the COVID vaccines, but there's also the fact that we now have a very good reason to question the narrative across the board. And we are questioning the narrative across the board. And so NIH now, and Bobby has just in the last couple of days said, we're going to question everything. We're going to look at the science. We're going to look at this. We're going to look at that. Well, here's the deal. It ain't going to take long to look at the science and realize it's all BS. The science behind traditional vaccines is garbage at best, and the science behind traditional vaccines starts in '86 when you've got the law passed to protect a product that's inherently dangerous.
Yeah.
If it's so inherently dangerous that you need liability protection to manufacture it, you can't then come back around and say, listen, if you want a transplant, you've got to take this inherently dangerous thing because, I don't know what, it's going to make you healthier? I mean, if it was that good, why do you need liability protection? Exactly. I mean, particularly when it comes to a person who is in a state where they've got an organ issue that's sufficient to require transplant, we cannot then, I don't think there's any sound justification under the law to argue, or under science, to argue that something that's so inherently unsafe that it requires legal immunity from lawsuits would somehow then be safe and effective in a person who has that sort of an injury. So, I'm interested to look into this, and I am looking into this, and we'll see what happens with this little girl. But I know that with regard to organ transplants, I had a bunch of calls about this throughout COVID, a bunch of people that needed help with this. Unfortunately, throughout the crisis phase of the COVID nonsense, I only had two hands and could only take so much stuff. But, this has been something, they've been murdering people throughout COVID by excluding them from the list because they didn't want to get these poison COVID jabs. And, but they've murdered people throughout COVID for everything. So this is
no one wants to go.
That's why I think it's so cool that, and Bobby in his confirmation hearings was saying, I'm willing to be wrong. I'm willing to retract everything I've ever said about it. I mean, it was such the senators didn't have a clue what he was saying, but it was such it was a really good chess play. I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. I'm willing to retract everything because he knows there's no science and he knows he's not wrong. And so, but to put that out there made it sound like he was so willing to be wrong and they were willing to pounce on that.
Yeah.
And I just had to chuckle when I heard him say it. It was funny.
Yeah.
The damage that's been done. I mean, no one wants to go to see a doctor or go into a hospital. We're all terrified. I mean, we were just talking on Tom's show about forcing us to get tested everywhere we went during the beginning of COVID. And then we were terrified to go into a hospital because we were afraid they were going to murder us. The lies are astounding. And so now what's happening is, like with this situation, it's so sad because I was answering the phones for the attorneys and so was Charity. The phones were ringing off the hook from people who couldn't get medical treatment that they really needed because they didn't have these vaccines. So think of the damage that's been done. I mean, there's blood on their hands in so many different aspects of this. I mean, they were killing people. There were murder protocols going on in the hospital. But then to deny people medical treatment because they didn't have these quote unquote safe and effective vaccines, it's crimes against humanity.
Yeah. Well, we've seen this over and over in history. This isn't the first time they have pulled this stuff through history. It's just the technology behind what's possible right now makes it a little scarier. But moving forward, so what do we do, right? So like what happens if I need an organ and I'm not going to take a poisonous jab? Is Dr. Tenpenny, do you think that there will ever be a system set up where people can get this emergency medical care? Or do you think that we have to focus more on the prevention?
I think that these people need to be sued to kingdom come is what I think needs to happen. Because I do not believe, we did a survey on X a couple weeks ago, and the survey said, it started with a statement. It said, the system is broken. Do you think it can be fixed? And the answer was yes, no, or we need a new system. Yeah. 87% of people said we needed a new system. Amen. But we need a new system for chronic illness. I mean, that's what Bobby's talking about. And so much of what he was talking about, I think, was trying to pull on the heartstrings a little bit about the health of our children, and they're chronically ill and they can't qualify for the military and all these things. But, it's the health of our country as a whole, the health of adults. And so we have to look at, getting the vaccines out of the schedule, and he knows it. We all know it. And it's got to start there because these kids get 32 vaccines by the time they're 2 years of age. Before they sit down at their dinner table and have a food additive laden meal, they are already destroyed. So that is, if we're going to make America healthy again, that has got to be evaluated. The second thing is that, what about the chronic diseases in adults? It used to be that, years, even at the turn, like in the early 1900s, people went to the doctor because they had an infectious disease or something like a broken bone, but now more than 67% of hospital or of the office visits are for chronic illnesses caused by vaccines, bad food, glyphosate, whatever, fluoride in the water. I mean, whatever else you want to talk about. So until we clean up our food, our water, our air, and get the vaccine schedule out of, if we, in a perfect world, I would say completely eliminated. That's going to probably be in somebody else's generation, not mine. But at least get it down to very, very pared down from 72 doses of vaccine from ages 0 to 18. And all of the things that come along with that. Actually, I'm working on a spreadsheet right now. I'm finishing it because of another project I have to do. What I did was it's a spreadsheet. I listed all the names of all the vaccines across the top, and down the left-hand side, all the different ingredients. There are 174 ingredients in vaccines. Now, not 174 in one vaccine, but if you get doses of all the vaccines, you're going to get doses of 174 chemicals, animal cells, all this other stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm taking it out of the package inserts and I'm putting it into a spreadsheet to convert all of the amounts of each of those things into milligrams. So you can add up a column, say in this vaccine, you get this many milligrams of garbage. In this vaccine, you get this many total milligrams of garbage. And when I just finished the lead part of that project last night, That's where I know. I just added it up. 174 different chemicals, vaccines, animal cells, cow blood, chicken parts, dog kidney cells, human aborted fetal cells from humans, human albumin, all kinds of
But-
toxic chemicals, formaldehyde, all these different things.
But
It's just-
Sherri, you know what? Here's the thing, and here's why I love Sherri, because she's a scientist, so she's got to be like a
I'm not a
scientist.
scientist. I'm a researcher, but I would not.
You're a scientist. You can call yourself what you want. You're a scientist as far as I'm. But listen, I'm a lawyer, right? So I don't have to even pretend I'm smart. What I can do is I can instead say, let's look at evidence here and let's ask some real questions. See, as a researcher, and I work with the doctors and the scientists and the researchers all the time, and they always have this very disciplined approach because they have to justify the science every step for it to be science. Well, in the law, I just need to get the preponderance of the evidence or clear and convincing. And maybe reasonable doubt, depends on what the standard. But I don't have to justify and quantify everything I do because in the law, we recognize that what we're trying are people. And people there's a spectrum. There is no black or white, good or bad. It's a spectrum of good and bad. It's a spectrum of things. So, Sherri, when you talk about this, it's fun because you're breaking this down like a researcher or scientist would do, and you're quantifying. But I would throw this out. When do you trust a liar? These people who put the ingredient lists out there are the same people who are lying to us through their teeth about everything. The same people that told us that masks work, the same people that told us that the COVID vaccines would prevent you from getting COVID, even though it wasn't tested even. They didn't even test to see whether it prevents the spread of transmission of COVID. So they lied to us 1,000,000 trillion times. So when you say there's 174, I'm going to say, how do you know there's not 274? Because they're liars and they're crooks. And a great example would be the study that just came out of Europe, where they found that not only do you have SV40, but you have SV40 promoters in the COVID vaccine. Now, an SV40 promoter is something that would have to be put in intentionally to promote something that causes cancer. Why would there be something that promotes something that causes cancer in these COVID vaccines unless they wanted them to cause cancer? Now, can I say as a scientist that we've proven that they want to cause cancer with these vaccines? No, I can't say that. But as a lawyer, because I get to cheat, because so nobody likes lawyers. But as a lawyer, I get to cheat and I get to say, listen, they've lied about everything. And here's evidence. We've got evidence. We've got a scientific study that shows that not only do they have SV40, but they have an SV40 promoter. Well, how does it get in there without there being intent? And if there's intent, did they intend to cause cancer? Did they intend for these to cause cancer? Was it intentional? Did they want these to cause cancer so that they could argue or justify their new mRNA vaccines to stop cancer, which won't work? See, so I, as a lawyer, I get to look at this and I get to say, you know what, Sherri? I know 100% that if Dr. Sherri Tenpenny tells me she did the research and there's 174 listed ingredients, that's how many.
174 that they admit to. How about that?
Yeah.
But I'm going to say to you right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 274, and I'd hate to guess what kind of poisons are in these things. And I would never, in 1,000,000 years, I feel so bad that I let my kids get vaccinated. No one, you come near my kid with a needle now, I'm going to take that as a threat of violence, and I'm going to break you into pieces. And I'm going to tell you it ain't going to go well. Because at this point, I've watched how wrong I was. I've watched the murder, the death, the carnage, the mayhem that these people have lied about and taken trillions of dollars to promote. So I'm grateful because I can use what Sherri does in a courtroom, but then I can ask the real questions. When do you trust a liar? When do you trust a crook? After I've demonstrated that your credibility is absolute shit in a courtroom, let me ask you, when are you going to trust this guy? And that's where I think we are with the entire pharmaceutical community.
It's important to note that the parents, you guys, as Tom is saying this, you can say no to your kids getting these vaccines. A lot of people don't realize anytime the doctor suggests you do something or says, this is what I recommend, you can always say no. You can always
and if they kick you out of the practice, know this. You're better off leaving than having a quack that wants to kill your kid for money.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They get paid to get your kids vaccinated.
And if your doctor is pushing these vaccines and telling you to wear a mask and you have to wear a mask to go to their office, don't go there because they're stupid and
It
evil.
just tells you how bad of a doctor they are.
Yeah, don't get rid of that doctor. So here's my question to Tom and Sherri, because we were just discussing this. I mean, we talk about the depopulation campaign. I mean, is this a bioweapon where they're trying to kill us? I mean, if they weren't trying to kill us with this, like what else were they trying to do? It's hard to look at it any other way.
Well, they're just like with the entire vaccine schedule. When you give 32 doses of vaccine to kids by 2 years of age, the intent is you don't want to kill them. The intent is to make them customers for life.
Yeah.
You know, because the money is not in the medicine, in the vaccines. The money is in the medicine. And so that's why they can have free flu shot day, you know, come in or they go around free flu shot, or they're starting to vaccinate kids in the schools without their parents knowing who funds that, because the cost of vaccines in relation is pennies. In fact, I saw a table, this is now a couple of years ago, maybe 2019. I don't know if they've updated it since then, but it said the cost to fully vaccinate a child is about $1,800. So that's the cost of the vaccines, so, you know, about $1,800. That's all the different doses and things like that. Well, juxtaposition that against $1,800 a year or more for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
The amount that it costs to vaccinate is just a pittance, and it's an economic loss leader. You know, we'll put in $2,000 into this pot because it's going to make us 20 grand over here. So if the intent was to kill off the old people because of Medicare and Social Security and their housing and, you know, and inheritance tax and all this other stuff. We want that. But the young people, we don't want to kill them. We just want them to be chronically sick for the rest of their life.
Yeah, they want customers.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how do we detox? I mean, I've been putting the link to Touchstone here because I'm obsessed now with, I mean, I also got my kids vaccinated and like Tom regret it. And I think my youngest actually had some injury from vaccines as well. And so what I love about Touchstone and some of the detox stuff is we talk about how to live in this toxic environment and not be so sick.
Well, the great thing about Touchstone is that it's a spray. It's a, you know, I keep mine sitting here by my computer. It's a convenient little spray that you can, take a couple of, and so I keep it by my computer. I take a couple of shots first thing in the morning, maybe a couple times a day. Okay. It has no flavor, has no side effects, no drug interactions. You can give it to pregnant women, nursing women, newborn babies. I put some in my dog's water because my little dog, he's a Japanese chin. He's got a flat nose. And so when he's outside and he's sniffing around, all the things he sniffs around, all the stuff that's coming out of the air, he's sniffing that up. And, anything else in, chemicals on the yard or anything that may blow in from the neighbors or whatever. So he needs a detox too. So I put a little bit of that in his water, put a couple squirts in his water every day. He didn't taste it. And so it's, we live in this, people have said to me for as long, we've been promoting Touchstone's products for about 5 years because we get great results and we have incredible testimonials. And so people say, well, how long do I have to take this stuff? Well, when you find that corner of the planet that's pristine and it's like the Garden of Eden, and it's let me know. I'm going to move in with you, and then we can stop taking supplements and we can stop doing detox and all this other stuff. People have asked about, well, how does this differ from, say, bentonite clay and activated charcoal? Well, both of those, bentonite clay and activated charcoal, are things that lay in your gut. They are not absorbed systemically. So that's when you use them for if you've got food poisoning or something that's really upset your stomach, or you got into something that's not good that that is eaten. So the bentonite clay and or the activated charcoal absorbs that. The difference is that the Touchstone spray, when you spray it underneath your tongue, it gets absorbed into your blood and it's systemic. So you've got two sides. There's another product that we sell in our store. It's called Vital Cleanse, that goes in conjunction. We promote that in conjunction with Touchstone because it's got EDTA and chlorella and ashwagandha for your heart and for your brain and all of that. So it's also another form of detox, but it detoxes and heals at the same time. So we use the two of those things together. And, activated charcoal and bentonite clay, they have their place. They're good. They're good. There's a really great website on activated charcoal that, I mean, I'm telling you, that stuff does more things than Carter has pills, in terms of for your body and stuff like that. And so it's, but we need to, not only do you need to put good stuff in, you need to take bad stuff out.
Yeah.
I used to do a talk out down at Case Western Reserve once a year. I'd go down and give them a talk on, integrative medicine. And I put the word disease on the board. And I said, there's only two things. And these are like first and second year medical students. And I'll say, there's only two things that cause disease. That's it. And they're like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to medical school and spending all this money to learn two things. Seriously? I said, there's two things. Either you have too much of something or not enough of something. That's it. It's only if you've got too much something, like too much toxicity, too much stress, too much, bad food, too much weight, the too much stuff, or not enough. Meaning not enough good food, not enough sleep, not enough exercise, not enough love in your life, not enough those sorts of things in your life. And so it's incumbent on your practitioner, and it doesn't have to be a doctor, but it's incumbent on your practitioner, if you're seeing a naturopath or a nurse practitioner or pediatric or a chiropractor or, those sorts of holistic doctors, it's incumbent on them to figure out what the too much stuff is and get that out, and what the not enough stuff is and put that in. And that's all. Really, health is pretty simple when you boil it down to those two elements.
Yes, and Dr. Ely was speaking with us recently, and he was talking about the one symptom that goes with all disease, all conditions, and that's fatigue. I mean, it's like fatigue is an epidemic. People are addicted to caffeine, and they're on this horrible cycle of stress and fatigue and stress and fatigue. The American way.
I don't know anybody like that.
I don't know anyone who eats caffeine and doesn't sleep as much as Tom. But Tom uses the spray too. So we have detox brigades there on the screen. But Tom's been using the Touchstone detox sprays as well. And what I wanted to bring up for people to be aware of it, I read a lot of the testimonials when we brought it on board as an affiliate, and a lot of them had to do with kids using it with great, amazing results. Kids who have autism, who weren't speaking, all of a sudden start speaking, and there's parents who are seeing stuff, like seeing the gross toxins come out of their kids when they start using these products.
Yeah, for real. And Touchstone doesn't just have the zeolite spray. Touchstone has fulvic minerals for your gut to heal up your gut. They have a product called Gluco Control. That's a really cool enzyme that helps to balance out your blood sugars. So your blood. I take it in the morning, and then I really
like that one.
I'm not even hungry till like 4 p.m. It just balances out your blood sugar. They have one that you would really like, Tom, if you've not used this one yet. It's called Boost. It's got green tea extract and all kinds of natural things like that in it. I take it about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when I get kind of sleepy, and I just feel kind of like, oh, I wish I could take a nap, and I don't have time to do it. So I'll take 2 of those, and it's like a boost of. It's like taking a shot of espresso without the whiz, without the shaking.
It is. And if you wash it down with a shot of espresso, it works really well. And then you only need 1 shot of espresso rather than 4.
But I love that stuff. I mean, it gives you energy without feeling jigged up. When you drink too much coffee, you can feel kind of jigged up. But this product called Boost, we just love it. So, on your detox brigades, thegoodinside.com, do you guys have an affiliate code with that? So what's your affiliate code with that?
No, it's just the detox brigades. If you go to shop on the freedombrigades.com, you will see you can get $50 off that zeolite pack that Dr. Tenpenny was talking about. Perishield you can get for $15. Your green energy you were talking about, you can get for $10 your first bottle.
Well, the Boost is really great, and the Gluco Control. I mean, I'm telling you, the testimonials that we've gotten out of the Gluco Control are equally as impressive as the PBX with the zeolite. I mean, people that have irritable bowel, people that have, I've had people that have back pain, chronic back pain, that once they start doing that, because, your gut is so important to your overall health. And when you put the right things in, like that are with the glucose control and the green energy, and then later in the day, take the boost. I mean, these products really work, and they're like whole food products. They really, really are a great thing to take.
We have a coupon as well for the glucose control. I have blood sugar issues, so I just started taking that since Tom was actually talking about it. So Tom sold that one. I'm like, oh, I have to try that out. There's a Perishield that we're getting out for your first bottle is only $15. Tell us about the Perishield.
Well, the Perishield is actually what it says. It not only helps to get rid of the parasites that you have in your body, and we all have them. We just did a parasite webinar. It's the end of February. The parasite webinar that we did, I was the moderator, and then it had Dr. Jason Dean, Dr. Christian Northrup, Dr. Lee Merritt, and Dr. Jeff Wolfman talking about parasitism, which is not only the physical little critters in your gut, but also like the mental, emotional, and spiritual parasites that suck your energy and suck your health out. And so that's available on our website if people want to look at that. So, but what this Perishield does is it not only helps because it's got wormwood and things like that in it, not only does it help to get rid of the parasites, the physical parasites, but it also prevents them from setting up shop.
That's pretty cool stuff. Have you guys had any experience with that one yet?
Not that we've had any testimonials yet, because it's brand new. I mean, it's been out probably less than 6 weeks. It's been brand new.
This is very exciting. So I just learned about Touchstone because of Andrea and Tom, and I have been very excited reading through the testimonials and finding out about it. So this is exciting. Go to freedombrigades.com, and if you go to shop, you'll see all the coupons for the different things that we've got on sale for you there. That's pretty amazing. Dr. Tenpenny, thank you for coming on and talking to us about these things. You are just amazing. And Tom keeps the glucose control on his desk, and I haven't seen an episode he doesn't pick it up and talk about it. This is how much he loves it.
We're all Touchstone geeks now.
Well, the thing about it is that for me, because I'm into working out, and for all that I do to damage my body without sleeping and eating too much coffee and too much caffeine and those sorts of things,
and a little bit of stress.
A little bit, at the same time, I believe very much in doing everything I can to keep it running, because you have to if you live the life that I do. So I work out 6-7 days a week, and I try and eat very healthy, and I'm very much keto carnivore-ish. And I love the keto carnivore. It helps. For me, that definitely is by far the best thing that I've ever adopted dietary-wise. But my body does not deal well. Carby, starchy, especially with some of these processed carbs, they just don't sit well with me. And so if I'm going to go out and I know I'm going to be eating terrible or eating bad, I really like the glucose control with that, because it really helps balance the way my body reacts afterwards. And I'll tell you, for anybody that's really into fitness and health, and I started working out preteen. I've been in this my whole life. I got fat during COVID, and a couple times where I got fat, but generally speaking, I spent most of my life in pretty good shape. And I'm an old dude. I'm 48 now, so I'm doing okay for an old man.
Careful. Stop.
Sherri, you look younger than me, so it's all good. But
sleeps. She rests.
Well, that's true, and tells me that I should. But the thing about it is you get to know your body really well, and Eben can attest to this, because as a pro athlete, if you spend all your time at peak performance, you get to know your body, and you get to know, if I eat this, I'm going to feel that way. If I do this, I'm going to feel that way, because you have to stay in that kind of shit. So, and I just know my body, and if I am going to eat really crappy, starchy, that sort of stuff. That glucose control has really been remarkable in terms of how it helps me because I just don't feel as good when I eat that way. And so I really like that stuff.
We can't let the devil take us all out. Honestly, we've all been exhausted in this fight. Charity and I talk about all the time how exhausting this has been, but we're fighting for our kids. We're fighting for the future. And, I keep telling Tom, he's no good to us dead. So he needs to rest and he needs to be healthy. And these products are helping keep us balanced in some crazy times. And with all the toxins, we've got, we're fighting the geoengineering, the chemtrailing. And I mean, I have people reaching out to me all the time saying, I don't even like to go outside anymore with my kids and enjoy the fresh air, because you look up and you see, at what they're spraying. And these products help us, like you said, unless you're in the Garden of Eden and in this perfect little corner of the world, we're all getting sprayed. The toxins are hitting, and we can't let the devil kill us. we got to stay in the fight.
Well, I have a
it's in our
question for you.
food, it's in our water.
I have a question for you guys, since you guys are moms and dads. And you mentioned, you both mentioned, I vaccinated my kids. What is the message that we need to get out to young parents? I mean, I've spent my whole life trying to educate people about this stuff so that they don't vaccinate their kids. Instead of vaccinating them, having them be damaged, have to spend all the time, money, and whatever to repair them if they can. What is the message that I need to be doing better to be able to get ahead of that curve, to get people to say no before they get sucked into that system?
I think
I had 4 kids that I vaccinated, and then I had 2 that I did not, that have never seen a vaccine and never will. My husband has never been vaccinated, and I get sick way more than he did. I got all of my stuff. The kids that were vaccinated, I dealt with a lot more sickness than I do with the ones that weren't. And I think that we have to give people to empower them, right, to stand up, because what's happening is you get bullied in the doctor's office.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Like you're a bad parent.
Yeah.
You are not a bad parent. Here's the truth. And go ahead, Andrea, if that's what, I mean, I'm just.
No, that's what I was going to say is we have to build this. We keep talking about for the future to build this alternative everything. We're like, we need to build another alternative for all these things. So mapping it out and showing them that there is a way, talking to people like, no, like what you said earlier, Charity, you said, you don't have to, don't make them make you feel that you have to do it, but we have to show them the path, and it's crazy because, I mean, Bobby talks about it too. And we look at like the Amish community and some communities, that don't vaccinate, and they're far healthier, but they do make you feel that, your kids won't be able to go to public school, and you won't be able to travel. You won't be able to do certain things unless, I mean, they make you feel like a horrible parent. What if I need to vaccinate them? What if they get sick and die if they don't get their vaccines? So I think the education piece is so important, but like showing them that there is a way. It's hard to find doctors. In my area, I have people reaching out just because they know when I was working with America's Frontline Doctors and Joey Gilbert and now Tom, they'll reach out to me and go, are there any pediatricians that I can go to where they won't?
That's a message that I've got to do better on. You don't need a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
When Mayor Eisenstein and I used to be on the road and talk a lot about this, we made a really, really, really big deal about you do not need a pediatrician. You may need a specialty pediatrician if your child has heart disease or diabetes or, some sort of weird congenital anomaly thing that happens in about 10% of kids have some sort of a genetic issue that they're born with. That's just nature. You may need a specialty pediatrician, but a general pediatrician, you don't need one. I spoke at the Holistic Mom Association meeting probably 20 years ago now. It was, and we sat down at lunch, and it was a big 10-top table, and I was sitting around with all these young moms. And I said, I have a question for everybody sitting around this table. And I said, this isn't a gotcha question. I sincerely want to know the answer to this because I want to get inside your head. Why do you think you need a pediatrician?
Yeah.
And they got really quiet and they kind of all looked around the table at each other. And then this one young gal from New York said, because everybody else has one?
Exactly.
And if that's the reason, then we've got to stop that. We have got to get that message out better.
I stopped as soon as I woke up, and I woke up too late for my kids because they did get vaccines. But I mean, I stopped the whole well visits. Like, why are we doing well checkups? And the amount of well checkups that they have you do when your babies are little, it's absurd. And it's just so that you go in, oh yeah, your baby's fine, but here's the vaccines they need.
They're set up intentionally by the insurance industry at 2, 4, and 6 months. And they're set up because that's when their vaccination days. Exactly. That's exactly when you can bill for being vaccinated. there's a software program called COCASA that the CDC created. It's quite a few years ago now, but they go into pediatrician's office and they install this software, and they give 2 or 3 days of training to the staff on how to use this software, because it's really complicated, because there are certain vaccines that you have to give within so many days, and you can't give them together, and you can't overlap them, you get all this stuff. And that's why when parents go in and go, I don't think I want 5 vaccines today. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'll do that one. And it's like mind numbing, because now they've got to go in and use this software and figure out the schedule and this alternative schedule that they have to do, because you were disobedient and you didn't do what the CDC set up was the schedule that you needed to do. And so all of those, it's all about format, about money, about making customers for life. But if we could get parents to stop going to pediatricians and go to holistic naturopaths and and even, if you're, people say, well, but my insurance doesn't pay for it. Well, then don't go at all, because your kids don't need to go anywhere. They need, I truly believe that a child needs to be seen by a qualified health care practitioner somewhere in the first 30 days of life, because they need to look at like congenital heart defects and, hip dysplasia. And there are certain things that you really need to check for. And then after that, what do you need to see a pediatrician for? You know, when your kid's healthy, you can download the growth charts off of the internet and learn how to use them. You can stand on a bathroom scale, have your husband hand you the baby, look down and go, oh, do the math. He must weigh 8.5 pounds, because that's the difference. I mean, you don't need them. You don't
Dr. Jim Meehan, rest his soul, before he died, they started Mindset Kids. And I just want the people here that are having trouble making that leap, that Dr. Jim Meehan, which you guys remember him, he did the tours with us. He was my doctor until he passed. Very fantastic. But they have started Mindset Kids, and you can do that remotely. And so I just want people to know that you do have help if you're having trouble making that leap. But
the other thing that we need to do is we need to get parents, go back and ask your mom. Ask your grandmom.
Yeah.
If you have like a bunch of siblings, your mom raised all of them. I think that they know by looking at them, like, not worry about it. It's just a snotty nose. Don't worry about it. And you're like freaking out because they got a snotty nose and they got a little bit of a fever because this is your first baby and it's the first time you've ever gone through it and you're scared to death. We don't rely on our extended families anymore, of our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles that raised kids. Instead of going back to them and saying, is this something I should be concerned about? We run off to the pediatrician.
Yep.
Well, I want to interject, because the question that was originally asked is critical. And Sherri, you asked, how do we get the message out? Where are we failing? And this is, I'm in that world now too, right? So I'm advocating like you, and I'm trying to get that message out. And I'll tell you, there's a couple things that I would say that are root issues that we got to consider. One is we've got to quit preaching to the choir. You have a huge audience of people who are health freedom people. Everybody loves you, and everybody knows you're Sherri Tenpenny, right? But we need to get outside of our comfort zone. We've got to bring this, and we've got to find ways to go into the mainstream and fight for our space in front of people. I can make those arguments. When I go in front of people, it don't matter where I go, I can make these arguments, I can do this, I can get people out there, but you got to get in front of people that are not our choir. I think that's number one. And then number two ties in with what everybody's saying. You talk about the pediatricians, but the second part that we really have to bring into people, I think, is, when do you trust a liar? When we talk about trusting the pediatrician, well, remember, most of these, 50% or more of their income comes from vaccines, sometimes 80% or more. I mean, the amount of income that a pediatric practice makes off of vaccination is mind-blowing. So, when do you trust a liar? And I'll tell you how you find out about this. Tell your pediatrician, hey, I love you being my kid's doctor, but my kid's not getting any vaccines. Will you still be their doctor? If the answer is yes, then okay, you probably got an okay pediatrician. If the answer is no, well, then they're paid, they're bought. They don't care about your kid's health. They care about their pocketbook. And that's what's going on here. So I think, one of the things that we got to do is we got to bring it back. When do you trust a liar? And it needs to, in every instance, Big Pharma's been shown to be a liar. The pediatricians are bought and paid for. They don't care about your kids. They care about their practice, their pocketbook. And anywhere that I can show you that the motive that you have is not the kid's health, that's a good spot. That's a way that we communicate this. So anyway, just my 2 cents on it. We love you, Sherri. Thank you for being here.
I got to run it. That was my next podcast calling me wanting me to show up here. So
She's going out
you're
there.
wildly popular.
Yes.
So thank you guys so much. Thank
God
you so
bless
much
you,
for having
Sherri.
me.
Thank
Love
you
all
for
of
all
you
the
guys.
knowledge.
Look forward to
you.
doing this again sometime.
Thank you so much, Sherri.
All right, take care.
The goat's gonna go save some
Bye-bye.
other people now. Spreading
right.
the truth.
Great, thanks. Take care. See ya.
Can I, real quick before we get off, tell a Sherri story? So I met Sherri on the Reawaken tour, right? And like a couple of years ago, I run into Sherri. She hardly knows me, like what you were saying, Charity. Like she doesn't know you, but she treats everyone like gold. She's just amazing. She's so warm and wonderful. She gave me a hug because we were having an emotional, this is in the middle of the fight and we're all really broken down. And we'd a lot of times go to Clay Clark's Reawaken tour just to see our fellow fighters and hug one another and lift each other up. And she saw me crying because we were talking about all the lives that we witnessed being lost during the fight. And she like gives me a hug and she starts telling me, this is why we're doing this work, Andrea. She goes, we can't let these criminals walk the streets. Don't let them walk the streets. So she was encouraging me to speak my truth and constantly speak up because she's absolutely right. The only way we're going to get justice for the crimes that we've witnessed and been through the last 5 years is speaking the truth very loudly. And, when we so every time I see Sherri, I think that I think of how she's a fighter and she will go right up and say it how it is. And do not let these criminals get away with this. Don't let them walk the streets. I love it.
I love it too. I want to highlight Eben real quick. I just shared my screen. Can you help me out, Andrea?
I will help you. I got you, girl.
So if you go to freedombrigades.com, Eben has a book coming out. So this is the homepage. And if you will just scroll down right here, you can click here and pre-order your 40-day journey to purpose, the Kingdom Fight. Eben, tell us about your book. It's going to take you right here. Go ahead.
I'm just soaking in all of this wonderful truth I received today, all this information. I mean, this is what's going to set people free. Health, spirit, mind, soul, and body. Everything that was spoken about today is the truth. And I appreciate Dr. Tenpenny. I appreciate you guys, all this information. I've just been like a sponge today. So regarding the book, yes, it's a 40-day journey to your transformation, to your best life, to your kingdom life in Jesus Christ. What I did and what the Holy Spirit inspired me is I took 40 quotes from my uncle Muhammad Ali, and I connected them with 40 scriptures out of the Bible that is exactly what he quoted, that is the truth, to inspire each other, to set people free, to allow them to begin to live their best life. And then I added incidents in my own life that I've conquered, that I still battle, that I overcome, and to help transform me into the individual I am today and the authority of Jesus Christ, to understand the truth and living in his divine kingdom. So it's a book that will empower you, that will strengthen you, and will give you your divine purpose. Go pre-order it now.
Yeah. I am excited for that. And if you'll go over to our shop tab, you will find the special offers on the items that we talked about today with Dr. Sherri Tenpenny. There's some great stuff there. Okay, Andrea, that's what I wanted to make sure everyone knew how to find. That's awesome. You guys, we are in war. If you join the Freedom Brigades at freedombrigades.com, it's asking for 4 hours a month of your time to take back your community, and then we connect together, and that's how we save the Republic, as we save our communities. Tom Renz, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. Tom supports us in every way. If you go to the website, he has a tab. If you just click on the tab, there's probably 8 places that if you just see a picture of Tom on the website, any of those places, click on it. It'll take you to tomrenz.com. And we just appreciate everything you do, Tom, in the fight. We back you, and we thank you for that.
And one more thing.
I love you guys,
join our ministry, Kingdom Fight. Go to www.kingdomfight.org. Me and Mr. Renz here, we have a powerful ministry. The Lord is using us to help transform and change lives. Join it.
So if you go under spiritual battle on Freedom Brigades, you will find thekingdomfight.org, and any of those places that there's a picture of that book, that will also take you there.
At the end of the day, we fight together. And, you know, Charity's been good enough to join us, and the Freedom Brigades, I consider it a part of our work. Just like I consider the ministry part of our work. It's all our work, right? So we're trying to do is we're trying to bring together our family of warriors, people who are good, who are here for no other reason than to make a difference in this world.
Amen.
You know, we fight, most of the time we're broke. Most of the time we're fighting an uphill battle. David and Goliath is an understatement. We don't even have a sling of stones most of the days, but we keep fighting, and you know, it's a great honor and privilege to do it. So, you know, I hope that people will support Charity, support all of us in all that we're doing. It's a blessing that we get the opportunity to fight before man and before God, and to do the right thing to whatever extent we can. Even though I'm a lawyer and I only do the right thing, you know, once out of 10 times, you know, but we try our best, right? We try, and God's been good to us. So, you know, support the Freedom Brigades, support the ministry, support anywhere you can. These are people that I'm honored to give whatever I can to support, because they're good people who deserve it. So please.
Amen.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you.